there's a process that happens that I talk with all of our folks in recovery. So a trigger can come across the map, and we really want people to become the experts on their triggers while they're here, right? So that's a part of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So somewhere a trigger comes across the map and leads to this idea of an obsession. An obsession happens in the mind, an obsessional thought. You know, it's not this, it's a thought that has a quality that spins and spins and you can't quite let it go. So it's not just, gee, I'd like a piece of chocolate and boy, I'm thinking about that all day. There's something to an obsessional thought that relates to addiction that has a tenacity and really kind of gets steam and keeps going. And so we really want people to learn a number of different interventions when their brain is telling them and triggering them to use, right? Because that's when it's happening in the mind. If we can't jam it up here, it's going to lead to compulsion. Compulsion is the brain and the body telling us to use, right? So that's a lot stronger. And compulsion is really where you're feeling it in your body. So my stomach is tied up in knots, and I'm feeling really tense, and my shoulders are starting to raise. If we can get people aware of the thoughts, you know, the trigger happens, what's the narrative in your mind? How can you jam it up? What are the things you can do to distract your mind? If we can get people aware of what's happening in their body, what can they do to physically engage their body to shift the thinking and also shift the biochemical body experience? That's a great intervention. If we can't jam it up there, we get to this place of ritualization. And this is behavior. And so as you would think, brain plus body equals behavior, right? If my brain is telling me something and I'm really feeling driven in my body around that, then the next thing I'm going to do is line up the behaviors that would lead me to use. And so here we want people to really think about what are the things, if we were watching a movie of you know, we were trying to predict what's happening next, what are the behaviors you would line up? So maybe it's calling my dealer or going to the ATM or picking a fight with my spouse. And here we want you to come up with a bunch of interventions, but these interventions probably will require you to engage somebody else, right? Because at this point, you want to have that 911 plan. So who can you call when you've got your car keys in your hand and you're headed out to the ATM, and that person better get there and take you to a meeting in the next 10 minutes because you're out the door. If we can't jam it up there, then we're talking about leading to use. And even here, we want people to have a relapse plan. So relapse prevention plan, but also relapse plan. What are you going to do if you use? Who are you going to call? Where are you going to go? We answer our phone here 24/7. Our residents know they can always call here, which is great, and sometimes they do. So what are you going to do if you use so that you don't end up in despair? Because despair gets the cycle going again, right? And part of kind of being in fellowship and being in group is working on letting that guilt, shame, and despair go so that it doesn't kind of lead you back into that cycle.